Hello world and welcome to Model Kit Monday, or may still be Saturday depending on where in the world you're at. I'm in a different location than usual, as you can see. That's not supposed to be playing. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I was getting feedback from my other device. Anyway, Model Kit Monday. I'm building Kerberos Voyager from Kyuranger. So I'm in a different location. I meant to do this in the middle of the day, or I've been meaning to do this for a little bit now. The day got away from me, and so here we are. The reason I wanted to do it in my office instead of in the basement where I usually film. I don't remember anymore. I wanted to do it while I was watching something on my PC. I don't remember anymore. But I moved my stuff up here, and so here I am. Not gonna beat around the bush. Let's just get into it. Adjust my lighting a little bit. I said I didn't mean knife. I need my knife to separate these two. Alright, let's see. 2 boxes. If you remember 2-3 years ago now when I built the rest of the Kyuranger stuff, that's just a retool of the Shishi Voyager. Actually, I have that stuff right here. One sec. About the Kyuranger stuff is absolutely anyway you don't need most of the Voyagers for the ultimate combination that I've got up there anyway. Obviously Cerberus Voyager is a retool of Shishi Voyager, which was split into 2, basically top and bottom mostly, with a few extra bits and bobs. Main difference: the head's a different sculpt, and instead of the lion paws, it's got three wolf heads, because it's a Cerberus. It's meant to combine with Kajiki, Chameleon, Oshi, and Habit Sky Voyagers, but again, you can do anything. I think that's just what wound up being in the movie. I don't even remember. It's been the movie did not leave an impact on me. So let's get into it. And when I'm out of focus, I think I'm out of focus. Number 1, I have not pre-painted these. Maybe I should have. I will find out if that was a mistake shortly. Ooh, that is hella warped. It's been How long ago was 2017? That was 7 years ago. Shit. So it's understandable. Frames have been a little bit warped from sitting in that position all this time. And I should have spray painted this bit silver. But again, it's going to be covered in stickers, so I guess I still can. I can just take it off and paint it silver later anyway. So no great loss, I don't think. Y, and Z. That's not how we do the alphabet, but who cares? Oh, and stickers, which I will try to avoid using as much as possible. Frame, I am in frame. A little cramped up here. This is like one of the reasons I stopped filming up here is because it is quite cramped. There's not enough space for properly. I was like, it's okay if it's just a Minipla, just 2 boxes, but even now, it's very tight. All right. What we got here? Do a no sticker build for now and just come back later, see what I can do. Especially because it wants, at least one of the heads is covered in silver, so. Okay, E13D12. I could paint that in theory. Try not to be a frame here. Those are for the eyes. I should not be using those. Just go on the side of the head, okay. Let's see. Fine. That's interesting. place here. I didn't think I stuck it back in here, so where is it? It'll turn up when I'm not looking for it. That's how these things go. Oh, this is the wrong side. Oh, there we go, there we go. Okay, there's a notch there for exactly that reason. There we go, okay. We've got 3 heads here. This will be the head D. Some entertainment going on here. There, which attaches to this. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought you could still attach the Kyutama to the back, but it just completely interesting. Just cuts it out entirely. Okay. All that stuff again for the other side. This one is 9. E5, E16. I've gotten ahead of myself just a teensy bit. Not that it's terribly complicated, but I love my fucking YouTube. There. And then the 8 and 9 goes like this. Let's see, okay. There's the face of the bulldog looking one. Okay, that is the lower jaw. Okay. Oof, that one's ugly. It's upside down also. There we go. Okay, yeah, it's like a bulldog looking face. There's more along like a wolf almost. And the main one. Okay, so that's the 2 heads. Well, the 3 heads, I guess. Because it's a Cerberus.
Running factor ads is an Olympic sport, I'd say we here at Honest Ads would win the gold. Sadly, it's not. But I am still staying fueled up like an athlete just in case they need me to tap in Paris. Thanks to Factor, which has delicious chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie, I can stay strong and fit for the summer games. Already in 2 minutes or less.
What event do you think you'd qualify for?
Oh, this is okay.
The shot launch?
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Sure, but what Roger doesn't know is that Factor has more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and drinks to help me stay fueled up and feeling good all day long. Factor meals also eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning up, which I'm too busy for. I'm training for the shot launch. Hit those summer goals by heading to factor75.com or click the link below and use code HONESTADS50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code HONESTADS50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders.
This summer, for the first time in 4 years, experience the magic like you've never seen it before. Liberté, égalité, and a sports-themed drag show Les Miserables crossover no one knew we needed. Experience the Olympics. With the whole world watching, we turn to Paris, where we hope exorbitant government spending won't leave any vacant stadiums to decay in rural France. Instead, we choose to celebrate thousands of years of tradition in honoring the human form, sometimes actually nude, in the tradition of the ancient Greeks. Hello, I'm Raj Hortstus, and I'll be making snide comments, taking long pauses, and making things seem really important during our HSBS exclusive broadcast of the Olympic Games. See, the world's biggest event where we'll applaud the human ability to sport. All kinds of sport, wrestle sport, run sport, throw sport, and even all kinds of don't drown sports. Athletes who have sacrificed having childhood friends and any semblance of a normal life compete against state-sponsored athletes from communist nations, where they're most likely doping on some state-approved drug that will result in a random millisecond win from China in the women's freestyle, even though they've never won before. And just when you think my commentary is obtuse, I can bring it down and dirty and talk about how those cardboard beds in the Olympic Village are actually a lot sturdier than they look. You might gasp at how that hefty man could throw a small stone from his neck cavity while spinning in a circle. Not to mention the constant play of sport and the quickness of a race or a short doggy paddle through a pool will leave plenty of time for our sponsors. We'll be sponsored by soft drinks that are filled with sugar and big box stores that employ some of our amazing athletes in their off-season, like Bracala Bramoni.
That's right! My face will appear in ads in between events, which could be as frequently as every 5 minutes. I'll be the poster child for everything from insurance to feminine products. And yes, I said poster child because I'm literally 14. Crazy that these uniforms get smaller every year. Must be for performance reasons. After all, I am the favorite to win the gold this year. And because of that, I'll get all sorts of national attention, and my image and likeness will likely make the network and advertisers millions, dare I say, hundreds of millions.
Horton Athletics is a proud sponsor of this year's Olympic Games. That Bracala Bramoni is one incredible talent. The only thing she may have in common with children around the world is that her labor is also exploited to make someone else money. Olympic athletes rely on endorsements to survive and continue to train. Most of the patriotic sports soldiers won't be at the games next time around unless they're really good and willing to take on the plight of being an Olympic athlete and paying their way into the Olympic Village. Now, I have to bring up the bed thing again because it's all anyone will talk about. They look smaller every year and we no longer put out contraceptives, but that doesn't mean we're trying to stop all those athletes from jumping each other's bones all summer. It just means we don't want to be responsible for any situationships. Dating really is tough these days. It's hard to find a good man anywhere, even the entire world. This used to be a tournament of average everyday athletes, where you just sort of qualified as a student in your hometown or university and then ran against other hometown heroes. Think Chariots of Fire. But since the Ruskies started training hockey players and filling them with whatever formaldehydes they pumped into Ivan Drago, athletes from the USA have answered the call. This is a major industry. I mean, the coverage and streaming rights are super expensive, and we want to make our money back, goddammit. We have the whole world watching, so our parent company, Horton Enterprises, charges up the wazoo for advertising. A kickback we use to sponsor the athletes, who in turn then make all of that money back for us and then some. Come together as the world competes in honor of the great human spirit, literally named after an ancient Greek event where men would wrestle naked and honor Zeus and all the other gods on Mount Olympus. This event looks nothing like that. In fact, the closest any of us will get to Mount Olympus is the Greek diner down the street. But hey, their club sandwiches are enough to say,
Okay,
go Team
I guess that's
USA.
it.
I've been Raj Hostess. Go Team USA. 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 Come on, USA. USA.
That's the head of the Shishi Voyager from the first time around. There's two extra parts I don't need there. Some parts in this frame I don't need. That looks like that'll do that. Okay. Set this aside. Quick photograph of what I've got so far. Should be the rear legs. That's right. That's right. Rear legs. Okay. It goes on there. Whatever. And there's the arms. Now I'm curious. Oh. I see. These go in like, okay. That's interesting. And that goes there. Okay, these extra pieces are for the other half. Alright. Sure, let's find out why the Windows Phone failed.
2006, just 1 year before iPhone, the company that dominated the smartphone market was Microsoft with their Windows mobile platform. So naturally, when iPhone was revealed, many expected Microsoft to compete with Apple aggressively and protect their market position. But what turned out to happen was one of the biggest missteps in modern tech history. When iPhone was originally revealed, many people were impressed by its new technologies, but there was also a substantial amount of what you might call haters. I remember a couple of my friends in high school saying no one will want an iPhone since it'll get fingerprints all over the screen. And as silly as that sounds today, many companies were equally as skeptical about iPhone's potential success. In fact, listen to what then Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer had to say.
Steve, let me ask you about the iPhone and the Zoom, if I may. The Zoom was getting some traction, and Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine. Now, it may sell very well or not. We have our strategy. We've got great Windows mobile devices in the market today. You can get a Motorola Q phone now for $99. It's a very capable machine. It'll do music. It'll do internet. It'll do email. It'll do instant messaging. So I kind of look at that and I say, well, I like our strategy. I like it a lot.
Ooh, that did not age well.
Was Microsoft's first big mistake, although it's much easier for us to recognize it looking back. At the time, not having a physical keyboard on a smartphone seemed as silly as not having a keyboard on a laptop. And the price of iPhone was much higher than usual. At $499, or about $756 today with inflation, it was 2.5 times more than the average $200 smartphone. That alone was enough to question the product's success. Since no company had ever charged that much for a phone, no one was sure how many people could afford it. Not only was iPhone more expensive, but it essentially had the same functionality of other smartphones. If you just looked at a spec sheet, iPhone appeared to be a ripoff. One button, one camera, no keyboard, same email, phone, messaging, music, and internet features at more than double the price. It's no wonder that people like Ballmer dismissed it. But what companies like Microsoft and BlackBerry failed to consider was convenience and user experience. Two things that have proven to be priceless to customers when done correctly. With computers, we went from command lines and keyboard arrows to graphical interfaces in the mouse, something that companies at the time found childish to include on a sophisticated computer, until Apple proved customers not only preferred it, but would actually pay more for it. And do you know which company was late to the graphical interface and mouse revolution of the 80s? IBM, who in 1990, 6 years after Macintosh, finally introduced a personal computer with a mouse. This delay gave competitors like Apple, HP, and Dell time to establish themselves and steal market share away from IBM, ultimately leading to the company's decline and exit from the PC market. With smartphones, Microsoft saw a similar fate. They were understandably confident about their Windows mobile platform and the devices that ran it, but they were in for a shocking surprise. Because when Steve Jobs introduced iPhone, he shared a graph that showed unit sales in 2006 of various industries. Game consoles were at the bottom at 26 million units, while mobile phones, which included basic feature phones, were far and away the top seller at 957 million. And he set a goal for Apple to capture 1% of worldwide market share in 2008, which meant selling 10 million iPhones. This was actually pretty ambitious, considering it took Apple 22 years to reach just 5 million Mac sales in a single year. Steve Ballmer's reaction to Apple's sales goal was, again, denial, saying there was, quote, no chance that the iPhone's going to get any significant market share. No chance. So how did Apple do? Well, at their Worldwide Developer Conference in June 2008, Jobs announced that Apple had sold 6 million iPhones, putting them on track to surpass that 1% worldwide mobile phone market share by the end of the year. More impressive was iPhone's worldwide smartphone market share. which stood at 6.5% by the fourth quarter of 2007, tying Motorola for fourth place. But the most shocking statistic of all was iPhone's US smartphone market share, which at 28% put Apple ahead of Palm and Microsoft. Unfortunately, Ballmer never issued an
this is supposed
updated
to get wrapped
response
in
about
gold
iPhone's
and silver.
success, but talk is cheap anyway. What Microsoft really needed to do was respond with a strategy shift so that they could compete with what appeared to be the future of smartphones. In November 2007, about 10 months after iPhone's reveal, Google introduced Android, a mobile operating system designed for touchscreen smartphones. The project was conceived after Google's CEO Eric Schmidt saw the iPhone and instantly realized the industry would move in that direction. There was an opportunity for new companies to enter the space and compete, and that's what Google did. They aggressively developed Android with a goal to reveal a nearly finished product by the end of 2007. That way, Google could begin providing the operating system to smartphone manufacturers in 2008. But Microsoft didn't think smartphones without a physical keyboard was the future, because at the time they were mainly used by business customers, who Microsoft felt needed keyboards for email. So they continued to develop the Windows Phone OS for these devices.
That's
Then
still a complaint I hear,
2008
actually.
arrived, which turned out to be a defining year for the smartphone industry. Apple introduced iPhone 3G, which was the first model to be released internationally, and it was much more affordable than the original iPhone, starting at just $199. The first smartphone running Android also shipped in 2008, the HTC Dream, which was exclusively sold through T-Mobile in the US. And that's an important concept to understand, because today things are much different. You can buy any phone you want and pretty much use it on any network you choose. But in the 2000s, network carriers had a huge amount of control over manufacturers. And one aspect of that control was selling network-exclusive phones. That's why if you bought an iPhone in 2008, you automatically entered into a 2-year contract with AT&T. This was obviously beneficial for networks, but it was also good for manufacturers, since the carrier would subsidize or partially cover the upfront cost of a phone, making it easier for customers to afford. So manufacturers could sell more phones, and carriers could acquire more users. But carriers don't just choose any phone to exclusively support. They want one that's likely to be a bestseller. So when iPhone started gaining momentum, Verizon and T-Mobile scrambled for a horse in the touchscreen smartphone race, hoping to achieve the increased user base that AT&T was enjoying from iPhone. So T-Mobile partnered with HTC, since they'd be bringing the first Android device to market in 2008, and Verizon partnered with BlackBerry, since they'd already established themselves as a market leader and were about to release their answer to the iPhone, the BlackBerry Storm, a touchscreen device that delivered haptic feedback when you touched a button. But Microsoft wasn't part of the conversation, since they hadn't even released their own phones yet. Instead, their Windows Mobile OS was still being licensed to third-party manufacturers in 2008, and those devices were looking more dated with each passing month. By 2009, the smartphone landscape had changed even more. The BlackBerry Storm had been a catastrophic failure, costing the company $500 million. So Verizon was in need of a new partner, and seeing as how T-Mobile had sold over 1 million HTC Android phones, accounting for 2/3 of the devices on their 3G network, Verizon went all in on Android, with the platform capturing 3% worldwide market share, up from 0 the year before. Meanwhile, AT&T was beefing up their cellular towers to accommodate the millions of new users joining their networks with iPhone. Worldwide, Apple had sold over 20 million iPhone 3G units, boosting their smartphone market share to 14%, up from 9% by the end of 2008. But they wanted to boost sales even more by introducing iPhone 3GS and discounting the previous iPhone 3G from $200 to just $100, making the device accessible to millions of new customers. Windows Mobile, on the other hand, had shrunk for the first time, from 14% in 2008 to 9% in 2009. That was a 36% decline in a single year. Microsoft was finally getting the message. Ballmer himself admitted they'd, quote, screwed up with Windows Mobile. Smartphone users, whether they typed lots of emails or not, wanted a big touchscreen without a physical keyboard. So they finally got to work on an operating system to compete with iOS and Android that would be released the following year in October 2010. Now, it's important to consider just how fast the smartphone industry was moving during this time. 4 years worth of changes today is less significant than 4 years of changes in the 2000s. By 2010, Apple was introducing iPhone 4, a device that was dramatically different from the original model in 2007. So for Microsoft to be introducing their first generation modern smartphone OS 4 years after Apple and 3 years after Google was a huge disadvantage. So how did they do? Well, their release was called Windows Phone 7, which replaced Windows Mobile 6.5. And users' response to the new software was mostly positive. Reviewers enjoyed the new Metro interface, which delivered a fresh, clean look, and an original take on what a smartphone home screen could look like. The virtual keyboard was praised for its touch precision and accurate autocorrect, while the overall responsiveness of gestures like pinch to zoom and scrolling were quick and smooth. But there was criticism, mainly about Microsoft's focus shifting from business customers to everyday consumers. For example, the industry-leading security features of previous Windows Mobile operating systems was missing, a crucial oversight that prevented many companies from adopting the OS. Plus, Microsoft Office implementation on the phone was severely lacking, with third-party Office apps delivering a better experience. These issues made Microsoft's user base, which mainly consisted of business customers, feeling left out. It was clear that Windows Phone 7 prioritized everyday smartphone users who mainly use their devices to socialize and consume content. And that was a good strategy, since there were a lot more of those customers than business users. But there was one glaring issue. Many everyday users had already chosen between Android or iOS, and convincing them to jump ship for a new operating system that hadn't yet proven itself was a big ask. But it wasn't just customers that needed to be convinced. Carriers and manufacturers needed persuading too. AT&T was focused on selling iPhone, while T-Mobile and Verizon were selling Android devices. And unlike Apple, Microsoft only had 6 retail stores at the time. That meant they'd be relying heavily on carriers to sell Windows phones to retail customers. Smartphone manufacturers like Samsung, LG, and Motorola had already begun using Android on their devices. Adding a second operating system to their product lines only complicated things. Plus, Android could be used with no licensing fee, whereas Microsoft charged $15 for every device sold running Windows Phone 7, discouraging manufacturers from including it on too many of their products. And this is where Microsoft's plans started to fall apart. Despite 20 phones running Windows Phone 7 at launch, carriers weren't sure what made them better than existing Android devices and iPhones, and customers weren't sure either. In fact, when you looked past the shiny surface of Windows Phone 7, there wasn't much substance underneath. Developers had hardly prioritized the platform, with only about 2,000 apps available at launch, compared to Android, which offered 200,000, and iOS, which offered 300,000. In fact, some of the most popular apps weren't even available. Games like Angry Birds and social media apps like Instagram and YouTube were missing from Windows Phone 7. This came as a surprise to many customers, who bought the phone through their carrier only to find out they couldn't use their favorite apps. This resulted in higher return rates than Androids or iPhones at carrier stores, whose employees were then incentivized to discourage customers from buying a Windows Phone 7 device in order to minimize their store's return rate. Not to mention, there were problems with certain device hardware that Microsoft had no control over, like the Samsung Focus, which was widely considered the best Windows phone available at launch, but suffered from issues with its microSD card slot. Not only could users only insert cards with specific read and write speeds, but the device had to be reset to factory settings after inserting a new SD card, which deleted everything on the phone. Needless to say, customers weren't happy about complications like these, and Microsoft began to realize something Apple understood long ago, that they needed to control not only the software, but also the hardware. So Microsoft began to formulate a new strategy that could turn around their fortunes in the smartphone market and re-establish their dominant position. Creating a hardware division from scratch takes time, and Microsoft had no time to waste. They were about to enter 2011 without a formative product to challenge Android and iPhone. So to fast-track the process, Microsoft decided to partner with a hardware company instead. And they were eyeing one in Finland called Nokia that fit the bill perfectly. Not only did they create the Nokia N9, which Engadget called possibly the most beautiful phone ever made, but one of Microsoft's executives had just been brought on as their new CEO, giving the two companies a unique opportunity at collaboration. The partnership was also beneficial for Nokia, who were having struggles themselves with software. You see, the operating system that ran on most Nokia phones was called Symbian, and it didn't have the advanced functionality and smooth user experience that iPhone and Android delivered. With help from Microsoft, they'd have access to a modern operating system. So in August 2011, the two companies announced their strategic partnership, aiming to, quote, combine assets and develop innovative mobile products on an unprecedented scale. This meant Nokia would use Windows Phone 7 as its primary operating system, while services between both companies would also be merged, like Microsoft's Bing search engine for search services on Nokia devices, Microsoft Ad Center for search advertising services, Nokia Maps integration with the Bing search engine, and the merging of Nokia's content store with Microsoft Marketplace. The corporate structure of Nokia also changed by separating its mobile phone division and reorganizing its leadership to more closely align with Microsoft's. So the two companies got to work developing a new smartphone strategy that could finally take on iPhone and Android, who by this point in 2011 had achieved 19% and 48% worldwide market share, with Microsoft dropping to just 1.4%. So they needed to release a new product fast, and in November 2011, they did. It was called the Nokia Lumia 800, which was essentially a Nokia N9 running Windows Phone 7. Nokia's CEO called it the first real Windows phone. Unfortunately, it wasn't very real for customers in the US, since the device was never available there. The reason why had to do with their partnership with AT&T. The carrier demanded the phone have 4G LTE, but Microsoft didn't think it was a priority. So they released the product they had ready, the Lumia 800, in markets like Europe and Canada, then fast-tracked 4G support to be included on the Lumia 900 3 months later in January 2012. But by that time, their phone was being released into a smartphone market that had already matured. Samsung with their Galaxy S2 and Apple with the iPhone 4S a month earlier. Smartphone customers had spent the last 5 years choosing sides between iPhone and Android, so Microsoft would have to provide a very compelling product to win over entrenched customers. So how did they do? Well, the Nokia Lumia 900 was pretty well received. It won CNET's Best of CES award, while Forbes called it the best Windows handset yet. Digital Trends said if you're looking for a good phone for a reasonable price, this is it. Gizmodo said the Lumia might save Windows Phone, that it's so quick and elegant, and that the screen absolutely sings. Many customers were also happy with the device. It was one of the most affordable modern smartphones at just $99 with a 2-year contract. Its live tiles offered a practical benefit over competitors' frozen home screen icons, and its AMOLED display measured 4.3 inches, much larger than iPhone's 3.5-inch screen. They also loved having a choice of vibrant colors, which matched the live tiles on the home screen, a concept Apple adopted more than a year later with the iPhone 5C. So the Lumia 900 was pretty impressive, especially considering how quickly Microsoft and Nokia brought it to market. But it was undeniable that certain aspects of the product were flawed, which would eventually lead to its demise. While the hardware of the Lumia 900 and eventually Lumia 920 were very competitive, its operating system was not. Customers who purchased a device running Windows Phone 7 were shocked to find out they wouldn't be able to upgrade to the next operating system, Windows Phone 8. This was due to a lack of foresight at Microsoft when designing the initial OS. They built it on the Windows CE kernel, which was never optimized for modern smartphones. It was bad at memory management, letting apps run in the background instead of automatically suspending them, eating up valuable CPU cycles and battery power. Installing and writing apps was also cumbersome and complex, making it a difficult platform for developers to create apps. That's why Windows Phone 7 still didn't have Instagram or YouTube after 2 years, and reviewers were quick to point this out, with Wired saying, "It's not like the store is empty, there's more than 120,000 apps available, they just aren't the apps you want." And with apps being one of the top reasons people buy smartphones, Microsoft wasn't giving customers what they wanted. To remedy this, they wrote Windows Phone 8 on an updated Windows NT kernel, which dramatically improved multitasking and allowed developers to easily port apps from Windows 8. But again, the drawback was existing Windows Phone 7 users wouldn't be able to upgrade. And this wasn't the first time Microsoft made this mistake. Back in 2010, existing Windows Mobile 6 users were not able to upgrade to Windows Phone 7. Now keep in mind, Windows Phone 6 came out in 2007, Windows Phone 7 came out in 2010, and Windows Phone 8 came out in 2012. That meant you had to buy 3 different phones in a 5-year span just to run Microsoft's latest operating system. This was a slap in the face to customers who took a chance on a Windows phone, and it created bad blood between Microsoft and their most loyal users, who were then more likely to choose iPhone or Android in the future. There was also still serious issues with carriers discouraging customers in their retail stores from buying a Windows phone. Still, by 2013, Microsoft had actually recovered some worldwide smartphone market share, jumping from 1.6 to 3%, although still far off from Android's 78%. So in September 2013, Microsoft made one final push, purchasing Nokia's smartphone business outright for $7.2 billion, marking the end of Nokia's involvement in the mobile phone market at the time. From then on, it was up to Microsoft to make it work, and as you might expect, they didn't. The first phone Microsoft developed after purchasing Nokia was the Microsoft Lumia 950, released in 2015. It was their first to run Windows 10 Mobile, which replaced Windows Phone 8, and while the device did deliver some good features, many felt its design was a downgrade. It felt less premium than other flagship smartphones, and it didn't have the same colorful charm as previous Lumia models. Reviewers criticized its underdeveloped app ecosystem and buggy operating system. The Verge said Windows 10 Mobile felt unfinished, and that its user interface was inconsistent. Microsoft received so many complaints about the operating system that they eventually allowed users to downgrade from Windows 10 Mobile back to Windows Phone 8. By 2016, Microsoft's worldwide smartphone market share had plummeted by 79%, making up 0.4% of the market. In just 10 years, they'd fallen from the top spot with 34% of the market to virtually zero. The writing was on the wall as it became clear to everyone that Microsoft simply had no future in the smartphone market. In October 2017, Microsoft announced that they'd no longer sell or manufacture new Windows 10 mobile devices, with the Lumia 950 being their last flagship smartphone. Looking back, Ballmer admitted that Microsoft, quote, would have a stronger position in the phone market today if I could redo, for example, the last 10 years. The thing I regret is that we didn't put the hardware and software together soon enough. So that is why the Windows Phone failed. I'm Greg with Apple Explained. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Given that it has the heads like this, we had these on the wrong sides. I'll find out. I do have them on the wrong side, so that's why. Pug goes here. Okay, anyway, let's make the other.
The year 1995 wasn't just a turning point in the 90s, but also in the entire information age. It was the perfect storm of circumstances in terms of technological achievement, attitude, and cultural expectations that led to the mass spread and adaptation of a whole new concept known as the internet.
You've got mail.
The World Wide Web, the cyberspace, whatever you wanted to call it. It was no longer just a pipe dream in its experimental phases reserved only for those in educational or government domains. It was cheap, easy to use, and yours to explore anytime you wanted, from any place. Where do you want to go today? This ease of access to the internet was made possible by many factors, with the most prominent, of course, being the release of Windows 95. It was revolutionary in its new design, practically built for navigating the web. But a premium program that came with this operating system compounded this convenience even further. A new web browser known as Internet Explorer. With its incredibly unique design and business model, all you had to do was dial up, log on, and you were now connected to the whole entire world. It worked its way into becoming the most popular web browser ever, becoming the standard for the next couple decades. But Internet Explorer's debut and outreach to the public was not easy. Although Microsoft was able to figure out a way to get their new product to the very top, even in the presence of competing programs like Netscape Navigator, it was a journey full of controversy, betrayal, and even legal battles. Things would get ugly, and eventually everything would come tumbling down. And the question is, how did that happen? While not instantaneous, there were three main things that Microsoft Internet Explorer significantly had in its favor: convenience, ease of use, and compatibility. Yes, believe it or not, there was a time where Internet Explorer was the better option, and it all has to do with the historical context and digital market of the time. Just to put things in perspective, in 1994, about 2% of all households had access to the internet. By 1996, that number had jumped to 26%. A staggering difference that 2 years can make. And you could argue that the main force behind this was, of course, Windows 95. But at this time, people weren't using Internet Explorer on this new operating system. They were using another program called Netscape Navigator. The capabilities that Netscape had really goes to show just what kind of competition Microsoft's new program was facing. In order to truly appreciate these capabilities, we first need to understand the differences between the internet and the World Wide Web. Yes, there is a difference, despite us using the terms interchangeably in everyday conversation. The internet is a huge network of computers interconnected that are able to talk to each other. The World Wide Web is the software we use to make that communication easy to do, by using things like HTML, hyperlinks, and URLs, etc. And in the early 90s, a bunch of web browsers like Nexus, Mosaic started popping up left and right that made accessing the World Wide Web very easy for the average person.
So here it
but
is.
because computers were still quite primitive, these browsers didn't always do a great job.
Here it is. Kerberos Voyager in the plastic. Turn off my... So, as this is completely unpainted. Let me put this over here so I can look at myself. Unpainted, unstickered, just a box build. It's got 3 dog heads, a pug over here. A wolf in the middle, and something long on the right side. All their mouths open. Here it is with Shishi Voyager, which is a retool. The main thing is just it's got built-in Kyutama essentially right there. So that's the big thing. It just has those built in, and that's missing. Whatever. Technically, you could, if you wanted, turn Shishi Voyager into a Cerberus. It's got what it needs. Like it just sticks those there. That's because I thought going in that it just reversed the way the arms were made to put the hole in the back, and it doesn't. It these do have the Kyutama on them, so this bit, the little paw there was not necessary, but probably would have been harder to engineer it out, so whatever. I'm gonna have to do some looking to see if that's supposed to be painted or be silver or not. It probably is. It's even gold, I don't know. There's no stickers for it, but the leg panel was supposed to be cyan. They couldn't be that way out of the box just because of the way the parts are mapped. That's fine. I should have a color match for that. So there it is. Let's make a Gattai out of this. Apart just a little bit, as it wants. Yep. Oshi, Noko, and Heavy Sky. His feet, and then for the arms, actually, I don't need the. So quickly sub in. Here, so I can keep you built. Let's put you off to the side. Okay. Oshi, Heavy Sky. Basically kneeling, and then the arms go behind it. I believe that's correct. That seems right. Okay. Three heads flip down. One head comes out. Let's have open junction here. Pull this loose. There we go. Oh. So it is Cerberus Voyager. That's me. Kerberos. The Cerberus counterpart to Kyuranger. I put together regular Kyuranger just to compare here. Borrow these. Hi. I'm getting tired. Where's your balance? Where's your... Sure how this all goes together. Silence here. I'm just trying to get this there. I didn't want to use both his legs, but whatever. Goshi. supposed to go around it is not covering anymore. What's the drill bit? I can't tell. Thanks for the leg. Who's available? Nobody's available. Come on, you're up. This is a comparison. Here is Kerberos with Kyuranger. This is the 2.8. I don't remember. Anyway, Kerberos and Kyuranger. So you can also see each of them is compatible with any of the Voyagers. That's the whole point. That's what I may end up doing. So I had a whole bunch of these in Kyutama here. Never much liked that formation. Actually, you know what I can do? I can turn Kerberos into Kyutama. Let's see how that looks. Let me keep playing whatever I was playing.
At loading things on a page. Often you had to wait for everything to finish loading on a page before it would even show up on your screen. Netscape Navigator did something quite innovative. Improving on Mosaic's code, it loaded some graphics and text before others. This created the illusion that your internet connection was faster. And for just $50, Netscape Navigator would be yours and you could surf away on the net. Because they got a hold of this innovation quite early on, this allowed for their popularity to skyrocket. And by the time the other browsers caught up, Netscape was the industry standard for web browsing. And when people got their Windows 95, they immediately installed Netscape on it so they could get online. Obviously, Microsoft was stoked about their Windows 95 computer program being popular, but they knew that things could be better. They now had a big hold on the OS market. Perhaps now they could get a hold of the web browser market as well. This would become the start of what has become known as the first browser war. In case you needed something nerdy to hear today, there it is. The browser wars would essentially be the first true public scandal Microsoft would find themselves in, and is arguably still the source of the controversies they deal with today. With Netscape being so popular and having this new innovation to their advantage, it was going to be tough for Microsoft to compete with them. They knew this, and weren't exactly enthusiastic about it. It appeared that Microsoft wasn't just looking to outperform Netscape, but obliterate its existence entirely. In fact, the CEO of Netscape, James Barksdale, claimed that his company had some uncomfortable meetings with Microsoft. saying, "I have never been in a meeting in my 33-year business career in which a competitor had so blatantly implied that we should either stop competing with it or the competitor would kill us." Yikes. Despite these high tensions from the company, Internet Explorer did have some humble beginnings. After Microsoft licensed a company called Spyglass to create it based on Mosaic code, the program was officially released just a month after Windows 95's launch as part of a bundle called Windows 95 Plus, which, like Netscape, also cost $50. But unlike Netscape, this $50 also gave you extra stuff, like better disk compression technology, special themes, Space Cadet pinball, improved dial-up services, just to name a few things. But despite these extra features, it unfortunately just wasn't enough for Microsoft to get people excited. Also, Internet Explorer was generally slower to making big updates than Netscape was. Netscape's larger market gave it better support across multiple platforms, and it took much longer for Internet Explorer to start competing with technologies such as JavaScript. Because of this, Microsoft's web browser just wasn't as good as Netscape. They would slowly start to make things better with incremental updates, but in 1996, things would truly start to change. It was at this time where Microsoft really evaluated its strengths and weaknesses relative to Netscape. If they couldn't compete with the innovation just yet, they could just strike the company's Achilles heel. There was one thing that Microsoft had much more of than Netscape: capital. This means that they could better afford to take a risk that could significantly benefit them long term. Microsoft started to operate hugely on economies of scale. The idea that spending more money now will create a lot more money later on. Netscape got nearly all its money from people buying their web browser for $50. So what did Microsoft do? Well, they released Internet Explorer 3 and made the browser completely free. Heck, they even bundled it with their next update of Windows 95. This is what made Internet Explorer incredibly popular. Microsoft essentially treated the product as a loss leader because they knew the product's exposure to so many machines would increase Microsoft's exposure and strengthen their influence and presence on the internet. Was the browser 100% as good as Netscape? Not at all. But free is better than paying $50. Ultimately, this plan worked, and this version of Internet Explorer alone brought its market share from around 5% in 1996 to as high as 30% a year later. But there was another thing going on in the tech space that, oddly enough, indirectly helped Internet Explorer's newfound success: the failure of Apple. The 1990s was not a good time for Apple at all. With Steve Jobs no longer in the picture, the company was bleeding money and was even projected to disappear entirely by the year 2000. But when Steve Jobs was hired back in 1997, after the company used most of the money it had left to buy his company next, Apple and Microsoft put together a deal. A very controversial deal, considering the whole Mac versus PC feud was still very much alive, even at this time. Apple was paid $150 million to support a ton of Microsoft Office products, as well as make Internet Explorer the default web browser for Mac OS. This announcement
Alright, here it is, Kyutama using Kerberos Voyager as the base. I'm looking at my feed right now. There we go. Never did paint the face of Kerberos, of Kyutama. I don't like this formation anyway, so it's not a great loss. I should go back and do that though. I've been on the painting binge. Speaking of which, one of my first Gundam build last year was the Wing Zero Real Grade. I started going back and detailing that, just panelining it and applying the decals. It's a work in progress, so you can see the lining here, the lining on the inner wing, the back of the wings. So yeah, that's coming along. So yeah, anyway, that's been my show. I'll take pictures, I'll put them, you know where to find me. Have a great day, thank you for coming, I'll be back next weekend. I need to build Kuga, dragon form. I believe it's the one I've got down there. Sounds right. So yeah, thanks for coming. Have a great day. I will be around. Bye.